What we're going to get into right now, I'd like to discuss with you technical principles. A technical principle is a rule that you use to maximize the effectiveness of a technique. Simply stated, do it this way, you're going to be able to do it better. That's what a technical principle is. And every sport has technical principles. I don't care if it's baseball or tiddlywinks. There's a way of doing it and doing it better. In baseball, you learn as a young person in Little League or Pony League or whatever, you just don't walk up to the plate and lay the bat on your shoulder. You got to hold it up here, you got to have your head turned the right way, you got to have your feet right, you got to have your body balanced, you got to have the look, you got to the swing level. All these are technical things so you can hit the ball better. It's the same in any sport, soccer, football, I don't care. They all have technical development. When I was a linebacker for football, when we hit and came off and hit, they taught us to hit on a glancing blow, things on this line. Knock them in, don't beat them face on, because then you're taking the brunt, but deflect. Hit them on the shoulder pad one way, pull on the other, and you drop the guy. These are all technical things that you have to develop. Now, why in karate do we just come into class and kick and hit the bag and make a big noise or break a board and think we've really developed something? Well, if you don't understand why you're able to do something, you truly have not learned it. Being able to perform it, going up and down the street, up and down the dojo with a kicking routine and things on this line, which I've seen some very, very pretty ones. They couldn't hit somebody in a fight if they tried with that technique because they've never learned what it takes to make it work. They've never developed it technically. So we're going to take a look, and there's 25 basic technical principles for developing your fighting talent. If you understand these, you can adapt them when you come into the gym and work out. Instead of just going through a workout, you can say, okay, I'm going to concentrate on this today. I'm going to be aware of this technical principle. Or if you're relating to somebody and tell them what they need to change or do, you can do it in a technical sense. You no longer just say, move quicker or block this way. You can teach them why they block that way, why it's better to do that, and how can they physically achieve it better. So we use technical principles. The first one is positioning. It covers everything. If you think about it, positioning is one of the best technical principles out there to understand and do. It determines everything, positioning. How your opponent's positioned, how you're positioned, how your relationship to each other are positioned determines what can be done. I get paid a lot of money to come in on fights and work corners, not because I am such a great corner man, which I really am. I really am good. But not for that reason. The reason is I can look at somebody, watch them warm up, throw a few basic kicks and punches. I can tell you what they can and can't do. I can tell you what their weaknesses are. I've had black belts come in from other styles, get in a chorus line to do some kicks, and as soon as they throw a kick or a punch technique, I can tell them what their favorite technique is and what their weakness is. And they go, how do you know that? I said, I just looked at you. You tell me. Positioning determines everything. How you're positioned determines everything. How your opponent's position should be able to tell you what he can do and can't do. So when you're out here sparring and just going out to spar in that, just don't go out with an idea of you're going to hit somebody. Beat them up. That's not sparring. The definition of sparring is a light controlled fighting. Keith Hayflick, a light heavyweight kickboxing champion of the United States, he was rated the #1 contender in the world, lost to Jeff Smith by 1 point in a championship world title fight. Because he couldn't take a hit. 3 weeks before the title fight, he got knocked down and hurt by Jerry Rome, put a curvature in his coccyx bone and whiplashed his neck. Physically couldn't take a punch. And that was Keith's fight. That was his forte. He could take your punch and take your head off. He could take full power kicks to the body. We worked on him over a year, learning how to, he'd hold his hands and we'd kick him in the chest. Over a year's time, you get to a point where you could round kick him in the body and bounce off. It's like hitting a bass drum. Boom, just bounce right off. He learned how to take it and do it. That was his game. I'm going to go in there and physically outdo you. Well, he got to a point where he couldn't take a punch. He adapted. He did the best he can. He went the whole 11 rounds. He lost by 1 point. 1 point. But he couldn't take a punch. In the dressing room afterwards, he told me, Dad, I sure wish I'd have sparred my sparring partners. Because Keith didn't spar you. If you got in the ring with him, he physically hurt you. He didn't care who you were. I have one black belt with 4 teeth knocked out in the front from him. Other people, he didn't care whether you were a white belt or a black belt. You got in the ring with him, he physically hurt you. He fought full blast all the time. He didn't learn how to adapt. So he couldn't. So you have a physical positioning, you have a mental positioning when you go into it. You take a look at your positioning as a technical principle. You watch a person, you should be able to tell what they can do. You get ready to develop a technique, and you say to yourself, how should I be positioned to best initiate this technique? Where are my feet supposed to be? What direction are they pointed in? Where are my knees? Where are my hips? Where are my hands? Where's my body? Where's my mind? Where are they positioned? Before you even initiate the movement. Then again, remember, we go back to use of methods, mechanical, technical, psychological. We have to have a mechanical level. You start it mechanically. You go out there, and then you develop it. So positioning is your first technical principle, and it's the most important. It should be the first thought you have when you first start doing something. What is the positioning involved in this? Fight technique, waza, grab bar, self-defense technique, I don't care. What's positioned where? How are things positioned? What positioning is everything else around me in at the time? And then you deal with it and you learn it on that line. So your first technical principle is positioning. Your second one is 5